All right, we didn't quite get finished in class, so we'll go ahead and get through it. Just a quick note, a constructor is what is called, or a construct is what is called every time you initiate an object. So if I go and copy here, move this over to my code in NetBeans, in my class, technique is to put it as the first thing. So you can see I have function underscore construct. This function is called every time an auction member class is instantiated or made an object. So in this function, I want to have things that happen every time. For an auction member, I'm going to make a few attributes, make them public so that you can access them inside or outside of the specific class. I'm going to have a username, I'm going to have a password, and you'll notice the different naming conventions I'm using. Please look those up in your WordPress Codex handout I had in class. Alright, so now I have username, password, first name, and last name. And in the construct I have this dot set first name Daniel, and then this dot tell about self. So when I call a new auction member, or I instantiate a new auction member, it goes ahead and runs set first name Daniel, which comes down here, has a first name. This dot first name is what is up there in public. The little first name there, direct variable, relates to the argument passed into the function. So set first name, basically setting it to Daniel. Then we're going to tell about self. Tell about self is a cool little function that just says, all right, well, I'm going to tell you what I do. And in this case, we echo it out to the string at the end. So we're going to do first name, and then how are you today? So you should see the first name is Daniel. And we'll go ahead and take a look at this in the website here in a second. You can see that the string attributes there, concatenation, the dot equals, makes them add on to each other. And in this case, you can see this all piled together. Colons there, there's no new lines or anything. So we're going to go back into our index code. Well, actually, going to take the colon out first and tell about self, save it later, and then in our index code, we're going to add some divisions. So you'll be able to see the difference between the two lines there. Alright, you'll see that I make an error here when I go to run this. But for right now, we'll get our spacing down, add a div. So everything that is show welcome is going to be into a div, or BR in this case, separate the two, okay? Or you could use a div on the bottom. I prefer a div. Let's just use div. Okay, so we're going to have a div. We're going to close the div up. Pay attention while I'm doing this because I do it wrong. And we'll come back and fix the error in a second. But for right now, this is not going to run. Let's go over to the browser. See what happens. Hit refresh. Syntax error. See at the bottom it says it's unexpected less than, and it's in line 8 in index.php. So we got there, line 8, and we're like, oh, we did not use a closing tag for the PHP. We have embedded HTML and PHP, but you have to make sure they're separated using the PHP tag. So there you go. Hello, my name is Daniel. How are you today? Welcome to the auction. All right, so let's go ahead and add my last name. So we don't have to do anything here. We're going to go into the functions in the class, and we're going to go ahead and add a set last name, and then we're going to add a last name display to the tell about self function. So we'll just go ahead and say down to the functions, public, so it can see it all, function, set last name. Okay, have an argument coming in of last name. And then we're going to say this, which is referring to the current class you're in. So the attribute under this current class, last name, equals whatever you're passing in as the argument. So we're going to call that function, set last name, and pass in the last name we want to set. Go ahead and save it. And we can go down to tell about self. And we can add the last name as well. Let's copy this line because it's going to be very similar. Change that to last name. Yeah, I know, too many S's. I'll get it in a second. Alright, I'm going to put a space between the first name and the last name and then have another dot. String concatenation, get that the extra S out of there. So what do you think? Is that going to run? Let's go and see. Yay, it ran. That's awesome. If you have any questions, let me know. The homework's going to be for you to add the username and password and some other stuff. Good luck.